have George Whittam, the owner of George the Tech, dedicated his career to help voice actors, podcasters, studio owners perfect their audio setups so that they can sound great on camera. And we are going to learn today 5 essential tips to ensure that your audio sounds professional. Can we give a big round of applause to George?
Thank you. Thank you for being patient, you guys. Now, I'll give you a little quick rundown of a little bit about myself, and then we'll get into it. My background is in all forms of audio. In fact, that's me in my recording truck when I was about 24, 25 years old. I made a studio in a truck. So I started with everything much too complicated. And over the years, I learned that I needed to make things more simple because in the real world, most people don't use gear like this. Most people use simpler things like USB microphones. But I came from film. There I'm holding a boom mic. This is a set that I designed for a show that I did for 13 years called VOBS. Again, multiple microphones, cameras, complicated, really complicated. Then things started to get simpler as we were focusing on single person, single microphone spaces, which is what this one is here. That's J. Michael Collins, who runs the VO Atlanta trade show. And that's his space in his home. As you can see, it's all about an open room, but all the surfaces have something that absorbs sound on them to get rid of the echo. You can hear how this room has a significant amount of echo, right? You do not want that in your recording space because it reduces clarity. So that room is damped down. This one's just for fun. This is a recording kit that my client uses in his Tesla, okay? When he needs to. So what I really wanted to cover today are microphone selection. So that's kind of what we're talking about now, choosing mics. Acoustic treatment, which is things like this. This is an acoustical panel. Recording techniques, post-production, which is what you do after you record. Now you recorded, what do you do next? And recommended tools and software that I can say that I've used or told people to use with success. So we're talking about microphones. Let's talk about getting the right kinds of microphones, but first talk about the types of microphones. Most of the microphones podcasters see being used these days oftentimes are dynamic microphones. If you've been in the Ecamm room, where there's all those cute little pods all the way around the room, those are dynamic microphones. But they're also USB microphones. So they are dynamic mics, and those are designed to be right up close, like this one. This is a dynamic microphone. They tend to be less sensitive, and you use them up close. That gives you that warm, intimate sound that people like. But they can also be USB. And again, those mics at the Ecamm booth, I think that's the Shure MV6, is a great entry point because it's plug into the computer and go. And because it's dynamic, it picks up less room noise and room echo. This is an example, I don't know why I chose the rear of a microphone, but this is an example of a dynamic mic. They tend to look like broadcast mics like you see on the radio. Another type of microphones are condenser microphones. These are the mics that are more, pick up more sibilance and crispness and detail in the voice. This is good if you're more professional, if you're more of a professional voice actor or you've done a lot of voice performance, then those microphones really allow you to shine as a voice performer because they pick up every detail in your voice. But I don't necessarily recommend them when you're just getting started because they take more precise technique and they do pick up every little flaw in your voice. They pick up every little mouth click and sibilance. But condenser mics are just more sensitive in general. And that one there is an Earthworks Ethos podcast style condenser microphone. Then you have lavalier microphones. And since the theme of this talk today is about audio for video, a lot of you may choose to go with a lavalier microphone. The advantage of lav mics are, once you put one on, there's no mic technique to think about. You clip it to your dress, you clip it to your collar, and now you stop thinking about the microphone because it's just on your body. These are really appropriate for video. We're all used to them. Newscasters and nighttime talk show hosts use them all the time. It's very common. And the good news is that they've gotten much, much less expensive. In fact, the commoditization of microphones in China means that a $30 USB lavalier mic, and you can find these all day on Amazon, works remarkably well. In fact, I even recommend folks doing a lot of interviews to actually mail one of those to your guest in advance if they don't have anything, and send it to them in an envelope with a return envelope. So after the interview, they drop it in the envelope and they mail it back to you. And we're talking about like a $30 microphone, right? So I don't recommend these for audio only shows because it's a different sound that is associated with it. When you're listening to audio without picture, your brain is only focused on the audio. So the audio has to be even better, more present and very clear, microphone up very close. But when it's video, the audio is very important, but it's not the prime only focus. So you can have the microphone further away, you can have a lavalier down here, and still it translates. That's why audio for video is different from just a pure podcast recording. But it's amazing how inexpensive these have gotten. So when you're looking at microphones, you want to really look for microphones that have pickup patterns that are directional. What that means is the mic mostly picks up what's in front, doesn't really pick up what's behind the mic. That helps deal with room noise. That helps deal with the mic picking up less echo. These are really important things to look at. So most mics that are designed for up-close use are going to be cardioid. Mics that are designed to be worn on your body like a lavalier are going to be omni. That's generally what you're looking at in these microphones. And those are the two most common pickup patterns in the microphones. If you're looking at budgets, you can start at, believe it or not, like I said, the lavalier for $30. That's legit. I have done actual records and interviews with mics that inexpensive and gotten good audio. But the bottom line is don't overspend because you don't need a $400 Shure SM7B that you see on the Joe Rogan show. You don't need to start there. Those microphones take a lot more equipment to sound good. They take better mic technique. They're just harder to use. So don't start there. You also want to make sure you're taking into a factor your environment, right? So depending on where you're recording and how you're recording, it's going to dictate what type of microphone you're actually going to use. So recording environment. Or we're going to be doing interiors, which is the vast majority of you probably are interior. You're in an office, a bedroom, a booth, somebody's living room. Or are you going to be recording exterior, out on the street, standing on the street, sitting in a park, on a movie set? Who knows, right? So those are considerations when you're choosing microphones. There are microphones designed for exterior that can handle weather. They can handle humidity. A lot of microphones do not like humidity, for example. Florida can be really challenging. You go with your equipment from the air-conditioned hotel room and you walk outside and condensation. If you wear glasses, you know what I'm talking about. Leave the hotel room, your glasses fog over. It's very challenging when your equipment doesn't like humidity. So choosing the right mic for the style that you're doing is important. Also, are you doing something cinematic? If it's cinematic, nobody wants to see a microphone on camera. That's a whole different animal. However, if production style cinematic is hiding the microphone, so microphone is out of the frame or hidden behind the costume, much more difficult to do well. Whereas if it's a documentary style, it's much more acceptable for the mic to be exposed. You know, we're used to seeing a microphone on the outside of a costume. Thank you. So you can choose microphones based on the style of work you're doing. If it's more of a podcast style show, we're all used to seeing the microphone on camera. That's totally normal. So don't worry about it. The mic is part of the shtick. Really? So we're going to use mics on camera. Rolling right along. Boy, that goes really slow. There we go. So positioning is also so important. No matter what microphone you use, the placement of the microphone has to be really considered. And again, this really comes down to the kind of microphone that you're using. Dynamic or radio style microphones, there's a classic radio mic, the EV RE20, in front of my friend Joe Cipriano, who's a great radio host and voice actor. You'll notice the microphone is about 3 or so inches away it's not right.